Hi there. Recording's in progress. Joseph here, but you couldn't tell. um, I got a lot of things I was going to do for the next experiment in writing. And one thing that's been coming at me in many directions, from many directions. By the way, this is Dvorak, if you can hear it. We're playing in the background. One of the things that's been coming at me from many directions over the past 2 or 3 weeks is something that I guess I would call authenticity. And it is very permeating. It seems to be touching a lot of stuff that I do. And I was unaware of it. So I'm sharing it with you because, well, actually, you're probably much cleverer than I am and you knew all this stuff. But I'm going to talk about it anyway because that way I get to understand it. You know what I mean? If you really want to demonstrate that you show something, if you really want to learn something, explain it to somebody else, because that's where you demonstrate you really understand it. Anyway, authenticity. In writing, in life, I guess, be an authentic person. Don't put on airs. Don't put on a mock persona. And everyone has different personas that they live with during the day, they demonstrate during the day. My persona walking our dog Boo around in our neighborhood is very different than the persona I have with Susan when we're sitting down having dinner. It's very different than the persona I have with Boo when he and I are just playing on the floor. So there's some aspect of each one of those and all the others that I manifest during the day, which are authentically me. And it's necessary to let that authentic me come through, regardless of the persona that I'm manifesting, so that whoever I'm dealing with will know they have me. They have my attention, that I'm present for them. Okay, all well and good. Let's apply this to writing. I tend to write autobiography. I've never hidden that fact, been very open about it. And I tend to write very authentically about my experiences in life. And because of that, readers tell me I have amazing characters. My characters are so believable. My dialogue is so believable. Situations, the scenes, the settings are so believable. They can see everything that I've written down in their heads. Great, love it. And that's being authentic. That is letting the real me come out in the writing. And I encourage everyone else to do that. One of the things that I've had to recognize over the past few weeks regarding letting the real me come out in my writing is that, I don't know if you can hear that chainsaw. They're having a great time somewhere. Anyway, one of the things that I've had to recognize as of late about the real me coming out in my writing is I write stories about people going through what I would call a lot of change, a lot of transition in their lives. I would use the term massive transition. And usually that's manifested by people going through a lot of trauma. The Augmented Man, the story of Nick Traylor. Yep, that's me. I'm Nick Traylor, in case you never figured that one out. Yeah, in all aspects, okay? Except that I'm not over 7 feet tall and 650 pounds, but I am good looking. The trauma that he had to suffer, yeah, okay, real life experiences. But it's really a story of him discovering his humanity again. Just as I had to rediscover my humanity after everything I'd been through. Empty Sky, the main character, the protagonist, Jamie, loses his mother is probably going to lose his father, is desperately holding on to the one creature in his life which gives him hope and guidance, his dog Shem. Somewhere in the first third of the novel, you may lose Shem too. Oh my God. Talk about, and this kid is like, less than 10 years old. That's a hell of a lot of trauma for a kid that age to go through, emotional trauma, psychic trauma. The Inheritors, you have a young boy who is completely misunderstood by his quote unquote peers. And he is so desperate to be understood, to be recognized, to have his gifts utilized in a way that will benefit people, that he essentially escapes to a far distant future. But the future is not what he thought it would be. Again, massive trauma. He's basically a slave. He's fodder. He's, and as it is an empty sky, Jamie, the protagonist, goes through a series of changes. Several characters in that novel go through considerable changes to become who they need to be at the end of the novel. The Inheritors, again, Tommy, the main character, goes through considerable changes to recognize what and who he truly is, and then to act upon it. Acting upon it is a critical piece. Again, with the Augmented Man, with Empty Sky, with the Inheritors, acting upon it. In The Shaman, we have another character who's gone through massive trauma. He's lost the two people who have given him love. He goes into a hellish environment. Everything he's been taught is being stripped away from him. And finally, he rebels and says, no, I'm going to go back to the way I was taught, because that's how I'm supposed to be. So again, massive trauma, and then the hero's journey. He brings it forward. He begins using his gifts wonderfully. Search. We have the same character from The Shaman, but one episode in his life based on one chapter in The Shaman, where the main character, John Chance, aka Gio Fortuna, he is fighting what he's been taught with all of his strength, and he can't defeat it. And finally, he comes to realize why he was fighting it. He accepts what he's given, what his abilities are, and he uses them to act forward. Again, acting on what you have done, how you have changed, making use of your changes to benefit not only yourself, but others. From Search, we go to Tag. Again, a lot of the characters in there go through a lot of change. I won't go into a lot of detail, but the main character, not actually the main character, but the thematic character, realizes his love of his life is lost. What he cared about most is no longer around. It's removed from him one element at a time, until finally he's alone in a cave. My dog just came down. I don't know if you could hear him rattling. Blah, 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 blah. Where's all this going, Joseph? Marketing. It's going to marketing, authentic. Because I came to realize that my vector, if you will, is science fiction and fantasy, science fantasy, horror, everything in Tales Told Around Celestial Campfires. Those are the vectors that I'm using to write about self-acceptance, redemption, self-healing, self-help, awareness, overcoming trauma. So in my case, and I offer this to you, because I had loved science fiction and fantasy growing up, that's what I thought I was writing. And again, over the past 3-4 weeks, thanks in part to some conferences I attended, to some classes I took, the truth is that I am writing recovery books, if you will. healing books, self-acceptance, self-awareness, self-redemption books. So what I offer to you, what I suggest to you is, if you found your niche, great, go for it. All the power to you. If your books are floundering and they're well written, I think mine are, people tell me they are, then maybe what you are really writing about, maybe what your authentic self is authentically writing about, is not what you thought you were writing about. Maybe you were writing a vector, but the actual authentic message was something else. If you're on Amazon, you got categories and keywords. There you go. That's the vector, and this is what you're really writing about. And this was really, just so you'll know, this was really hammered home with the book we have coming out at the end of this month, we hope, the Book of the Wounded Healers. And I'll put links underneath the video. I thought it was another science fantasy, a mathematical linguistic philosophy book. No, it's a book about the main character, Ben Matthews, healing from the trauma that's been in his life. So, authentic self, from me to you. Consider, evaluate, figure out what you're really writing about. Go for it. Put yourself into it. You and the books will be better. You and your stories will be better. Take care. Hope you enjoyed. Now to find the stop button. Bye.